Well, hello everybody, how are you today? In this class we're going to connect the theory that you have to read and the question of storytelling. So we are going to see different things in relation to oral expression, or in the sense of prácticas discursivas, and academic spoken English in connection to the idea of storytelling. Why it is a public speaking? We're going to do some kind of recollection of previous questions already discussed, and in connection with type of public speaking and the academic world. And we're going to see how to improve our storytelling, and the important key for this class, and the important word and the key word, let's say, is the word fluency, which is what we're going to get with storytelling. So the idea of this class today is to discuss the important elements and also to connect them with storytelling. I know that some of you are attending Fundamentos, or what was Lens before, and you have already seen some things related to storytelling, but we are not going to focus on the activities and storytelling as a tool for learning, for teaching. We are going to take it as a tool for learning. We're going to use storytelling to improve your fluency, your way of speaking, and the way in which you can apply some of the elements that we have in this class. Okay? So you may be asked why, or which is the connection between the academic and the storytelling. Well, the connection is simple. Storytelling is a type of public speaking. It is connected to the anecdotes, stand-up, or any type of public speaking. The delivery of this speech could be by reading it. That is, do you remember the name of the type of delivering the speech that it is memorizing? Well, memorize the speech also, but it's not only memorizing, because sometimes you know the story. For example, you know Snow White, you know Little Red Riding Hood, for example, but you don't have, you know it by heart, but in your memory, it is in your memory, but you don't say the story as if you, or you don't tell the story as if you were given the list of a supermarket. It's like some kind of rhythm and music that you need to apply. Then you have the extemporaneous, which is with some various note. That is the one that we're going to use for this delivery that you're going to do after the winter holidays. So, in the case of storytelling, apart from knowing the story, you have to apply some elements that are connected to words alone and in company, and with stress and rhythm. So, let's see how can we connect with that. So for storytelling, you have to pay attention, and you have to take into account different elements. The first thing that you have to pay attention to is the fluency. You cannot give a speech, or you cannot tell a story if your fluency is choppy. Choppy means like or if it is interrupted by no, it doesn't have any. You get lost, and you don't want your audience to get bored, right? So you're telling a story, or your students to get bored. So the second element, apart from fluency, the second element that you have to take into account is highlighting and prominence. Is to work with the stressed words that are important in the sentence. We have already seen in first, and I am sure that you have already seen in second, that this question of stressing is related to many things according to the theory. For example, the amount of syllables. For example, the type of word, if it is a noun, if it is an adjective, whatever. But no, in this case, we're going to pay attention to the word in isolation, which has some kind of stress that let me show you that in transcription course, in stress, rhythm and weak forms, it is called lexical stress or accent. And you have also there a type of stress that is inside a sentence. So, prominence prominent words or highlighted words are words that we make them prominent. It doesn't matter if they have a kind of a stress or the other one. I mean, it doesn't matter. You have the examples here, so I'm going to show you now. It doesn't matter if they have a prominent syllable in a way in the isolated word. It doesn't matter because as I made them prominent because I want to, I can change the stress or I can make them even more noticed. So when we focus on what we want to teach, for example, we make those words important. The same as in a speech. In the academic world, when you have to give a speech and you want to show the important information or that your concept, the one that you are saying, is very important and you don't want your audience to forget that concept, you use your hands and you make some kind of prominent word. No, you give prominence to the word that you're going to say, that you're going to use. Okay, so for example, if you're going to teach a specific content, through a storytelling, I mean, you have to focus on those contexts, on those words. If you're teaching vocabulary, for example, or when you want to focus on vocabulary in that storytelling, you need to focus on how you're going to pronounce. So we have fluency for the storytelling, you have prominence or highlighting for the storytelling that is related to the stress. So for example, for after the winter holidays, you're going to provide a storytelling video. Of course, you're going to show yourself in the video telling a story. So, for example, the stories are going to come from different movies. So you have to watch the movies, make the summaries, and then I will give you some of the pages where you have the plot. But of course, you have to watch the movie to know how it ends. In the plot, you don't have the end of the closure of the film. So you make the whole package there. So for example, imagine that you have, I don't know, Inside Out. Yes, Inside Out, that movie. So there you can work with feelings or colors, right? So once you pronounce or say the colors or the feeling, you have to make them prominent, okay? So that's my cat. So in this way, you use prominence to help you with the content words that you're going to teach. Okay, so let's start with the most important part in this theory and the connection with storytelling. So we have said fluency, we have said highlighting, but we have to add intonation. Okay, intonation is another thing. But we're not going to focus on intonation per se, that's it. Falling, rising, not yet. We're going to leave that for the persuasion part. But for storytelling, in the sense of intonation, we're going to take the part of rhythm, which is also connected with prominence, because you make words prominent, specific words in a sentence or in a paragraph prominent, and that will lead you the rhythm, the music of your telling. Okay? So, in this first part, words in company, you have here examples on how you read some words in isolation and how you read some words that are not in isolation, that are in groups. Okay? So, for example, it would be odd to say these words in this way. Last Wednesday, I wanted to get up to London early, so I got a train. But the pauses should be shorter, but they should be with rhythm. Last Wednesday, I wanted to get up to London early, so I caught a train about half an hour before my usual one. That's the way. So, I want you to answer this question. I want you to answer what are the main characteristics of the stressed syllable. Why? Because the stressed syllable is the one that, even though it is alone, it is also noticed inside a sentence. So do you remember in first year, do you remember what we said about stressed syllable? What were the characteristics? They have 4 characteristics. Stressed syllables have 4 characteristics. Do you remember which ones? Yes? Remember? Let's answer these questions. Well, they were 4, remember? So let's see the answers. We have pitch. Remember that stress syllable have a different, a higher or lower pitch, but they are noticed. Then you have length, length, and also the quality is different. So we have length because it's in a way, in a different length. It's longer in a different way from the rest of the syllables. Always compare them with the rest of the syllables. Quality, it has a clearer quality, pitch, length, quality, and loudness. That is to say, they are saying in a higher volume. Those were the 4 characteristics. So those you will find those in first year. We have already discussed them. Okay, so let's go to, before we go here, stress, rhythm, and weak forms, let's go to changing the word shapes. So here you have the example of this one more. So the shape of a word may also be altered by nearby sound. So stress can be important, but to get the fluency first, to acquire fluency first, apart from focusing on the stress word, you have to focus on the devices that you have already learned in first and in second that were related to fluency, to connect speech. So the shape of a word may also be altered by nearby sounds. So one is one, but one more is different. It's like this. It's with changing in this process. Yes, there is a change in here that O'Connor, that is the one that we are reading in our booklet, calls changing. It is changing, or then he calls alterations. Why? Because he said the names in a different way. He's not mentioning, I don't know, assimilation, elision, conjunctions, gemination. He's not answering, he's not naming these devices in this way. He works with another terminology. So, do you remember how do we call when we have this process done? Okay, do you remember? We're going to discuss this today. Do you remember how is the process in which we delete a sound? For example, you pronounce next, but when you say next month, you don't say next. Okay? So let's say, do you remember which are the devices that you have seen? Yes? So try to have them in mind because we're going to discuss today in the group. Okay? Well, so he calls these alterations the classic ones. Yes, not only one more, but also these related with places and manner of articulation, t, d, n, s, and z, and they are always having something before p, v, and yes, which both are bilabial. Sorry, these three, not both. These three are bilabial. Okay, what happened with the rest? So p replaces t, right place, right place, right place. Yes, b replaces d. Hard pa, hard pa, hard pa. Okay, so the idea is that you work with these that you have already seen with different names. They are also, you can name them the way you want because the process is the same, the connected speech is the same. But the sense is that we work with these devices to acquire fluency now. You have already seen the theory, first, second year. Now you use them in your speech. Use them in your speech and be conscious of using it. Okay? Be conscious of the usage because it's important to help you. Then you have the disappearances, that are the omissions or deletions. So these are not some things that you can do in all of the sounds. So you have to study this to mark. So all of this, as in a normal class, we would practice and see a lot in each of you. Now we're going, I know that you have read this and you have known some of the things and marked the most important parts. So here you have different tasks. This one we are not going to do, but I want you to focus in this one. Yes? We're going to work fluency today. So today, for our group, we are going to work with this activity. You're going to practice to read it. Yes? To read it. You're going to make the phonetic transcription and you're going to practice to read it to work with fluency. You're going to read it today in our in our WhatsApp group. Okay, so have them next to you in this during this afternoon. Okay? Okay, well, I know that maybe some concepts you have already seen, but it's good to have a revision, and it's also good to widen your knowledge. So let's focus on the main things of this chapter. So here it says that words are different. We don't think about words only, we think about syllables. Remember that for phonetics, you don't pay attention to letters, and you don't pay attention to letters, you pay attention to sounds, and you don't pay attention to words, you pay attention to syllables. Okay, so most of the times where you can find in this type of chapters words, they are referring to syllables, because they want to include 1, 2, or 3 syllable words. So when a word is in its citation form or isolation, we can already see, you can find a type of stress that can be predictive according to the language, okay, according to the music of the language. So that stress is called lexical stress or accent. Why is that so? Well, because it is a particular one related to the way in which we can feel that the stress is said. So, for example, we wouldn't say bate, we would say bata. It's like that. We wouldn't change that. We wouldn't say except, we say except. But with 70 or 17, there it's different, because sometimes the students can confuse and say 17, 70, or the confusion is almost with 17 most of the times. But we, as non-native speakers, but we are studying the language all the time, we know that some type of stresses or some word stress can be predicted. So you can see that for 2 syllables here it says, let me read it like that so I can explain. You can see that for 2 syllable words, the first or the second syllable can bear main lexical stress. And for 3 syllable words, the first, second, or third can be stressed. That depends on the rules. So when words are put together into phrases, yes, in connected speech, that means that when they are together in they are hand by hand. Think about that. Hand by hand, together, always together. And sometimes those words can have the same lexical stress. They don't change, but sometimes connected speech asks them to change it. And let's see the example so you can understand. So the fight between the cat and the dog. The fight between the cat and the dog. In that case, fight, cat, and dog are stressed. And there is no change there. Those syllables are stressed. So, sorry. In the utterance of this phrase, there are 3 stressed syllables. Fight, only 1 syllable. Cat and dog, only 1 syllable too. These all happen to be 1 syllable words. The words between does not bear a stress at all. Although if we were to say this word in isolation, the second syllable would have the stress. Between. Between is not stress inside the sentence. Yes? But in isolation it is. There is a syllable that is stressed. So those things can change depending on the connected speech. So for here you have a clear example. Afternoon, afternoon, afternoon tea. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. You see, there is a change. So when this change happens, in this chapter, you can find that it's called sentence stress or rhythmic stress. Why rhythmic? Because rhythm is an important element to provide stress to a word and in a sentence. So let's focus on this type of this part of the rhythm, okay? So rhythm could be defined as the periodic repetition of an event. The beat of the drum to mark the compass, for example. Languages can have 1 or 2 types of rhythm depending on the type of event that it's related. For example, is it a question? Is it a comment? Are you angry? Are you sad? So you have different rhythms. Syllable-timed languages are those in which syllables are repeated periodically. So they have equal intervals. That is, all syllables take approximately the same amount of time to put this in another way, for each syllable there is a rhythmic beat, which occurs at more or less equal time of interval. So again, in English you find some words related in this way, like that. Sometimes it is like this, sometimes it is, but it's the same rhythm, it's the same amount of time. So French and Spanish are examples of syllable time languages. In stressed time languages, it is stresses which occur at approximately equal intervals. It is a stress. So there is more or less the same amount of time between syllables that are stressed, the same amount of time. Remember that we have said stressed syllables are the ones that are prominent because they have different lengths, different quality, pitch, and length and loudness. So you have there a syllable. So then you have the weak syllable, which is said rapidly. You don't say it well in a sense of you're not saying slowly. It is rapidly how you pronounce it, and it's also in a fast way. So it's with a low volume. So between a stressed syllable and the following stressed syllable, you have different ones here. So the rhythm could be, as I said, in this way, or also it depends on the message. Okay, so the most important thing in this chapter is that a stress time rhythm focus or requires that the same amount of time would be applied when you say the strong syllable or the stress syllable, and with the time you say all the weak ones. So between David and seen, the amount of time should be the same as when you pronounce David and seen. David had seen. David had seen. If you say David had seen, this bit David, bit and stress, David had seen, this should be said in the same amount of time that takes you to say they and seen. Okay, that's what this chapter means. And let's go to weak forms. You have already discussed the difference between grammatical words and form words, and what is the difference between weak and strong forms. Here you have a list also with the vowel changes. So B, which is strong, would turn sometimes into this one to make them weaker, as for example B. So could, I don't have to say more of this because you know some of them. I am revising things for you. Okay, tell him instead of tell him. Okay, so these elements will help you with fluency. So prominence, fluency, and intonation to work with in a storytelling. So here you have the different uses of weak form to have a revision. Remember that we have to say that when the word is stressed because of emphasis or contrast, the strong form is there. When preposition and auxiliary verbs appear in grammatical structures, such as the following, we're going to see now, they are used in the strong form. For example, the stranded position, that you say that it is stranded, it made them important. That's the picture I was looking at. That at is strong, not it. Okay? So, here you have more. A preposition preceding a noun can be used in a strong or weak form. I was looking for you because you make it. You are the one who with the intention of making it strong. Okay. So when the auxiliary verb is the main verb, it's also pronounced as a strong form, same as do or have. Well, all those things. Remember that verbs are always. They don't have this question of weak or strong forms. They are in one version only. So again, that demonstrative pronoun. Well, you have everything here to make some kind of revision. You have the negatives, the possessive. But I want you to focus on this. What you have to do for the 18th was related to this. Okay, which is try to give a transcription. Try to see the transcription. You will see that it has some kind of annotation. It is annotated here. For example, you have to explain the process. Why here here, Y, yeah, which is in singular, becomes yes with the Z sound when you have the there, or is there a connection? So the explanation is this, and this is how you have to make the explanation. When it is a morpheme or a contraction, morpheme, it means that when it is when you're adding a phoneme there, you're adding this or the Z sound because of its plural. Here it's plural. It agrees in voicing with the previous sound. So as you have the consonant ia in year, the Z sound should be the plural or the contraction or whatever you use it, the S or Z sound there. The answer is Z because it's voiced. The diphthong is voiced, so it agrees in voice. And this is the explanation you have to give for all the annotations that you have here. That is what you have to send. Okay? So, how we connect this with storytelling? Well, again, you make the words, you make the important words prominent. In your transcription, when you transcribe your speech for your storytelling, when you transcribe it, you're going to focus on the important words. So the ones that are going to have a change in the stress because of inside of the sentences, and the example that we have seen with good afternoon, and afternoon. Well, that you have to mark it. And if you are going to have important words, you're going to mark them too in the transcription, because they are the ones that you have to make emphasis in your speech, and they will provide the rhythm that you need. Of course, that you have to take into account the amount of time that you have from one stress syllable to the other one. I mean, you're going to say those in the middle fast. That is what I mean. It's not that you have to count. No. It's not that. Don't worry. You transcribe your storytelling, your story. You transcribe it, and then you mark which are the important words. These ones are the ones that I want to make them notice. So I apply them straight. I make them prominent. I highlight it. And apart from that, I will give them rhythm or music. Okay? So we don't say, once upon a time there was a little girl that was living inside in the center of the forest. She had a very old grandmother, and she had no. You provide suspense in your storytelling. So for that, you keep the intonation. So once upon a time, there was a little girl living in the center of the forest. She was so happy with her new red riding hood. It was so special for her. So her mother asked her to carry some elements or some things to her grandmother that she lived in the other side of the forest. So she said, "Okay, mother, I will carry these things to my grandmother." So she was so happy, singing and dancing while she was carrying her brown basket, and she was wearing her beautiful red riding hood, and she was touching the green trees and the brown branches. That way, I am teaching colors. So that's the way you have to use it. You use prominence to help you with the important words. Then you use rhythm to say the words correctly, and to have the fluency you need to use the weak parts to make them fast. So in your transcription, when you do your transcription for your speech, you have to mark the ones that you are planning to make important. That they are important for the story, they are content words, and they are also the ones you're going to teach, related to the topic you're going to teach. Okay? Well, let's move on. Okay, so now let's focus on this part that is from advanced pronunciation in use, that is pronunciation in slow and fast speech. In this first unit, we are going to see when we use slow and when we use fast speech. So we use a slow speech when we are carefully explaining something. So for example, when you have to explain something related to grammar or vocabulary, we do a slow speech because we want the other person to understand. Yes? When we are talking to a large audience too, if we are explaining something, or when we are talking about an unfamiliar or a difficult topic, something that you don't know. Quickly or fast speech is devoted to conversation and things that are more familiar to you. So for example, if you have to think in these two different examples as slow and fast speech. For example, slow, a nurse explaining how to make a sling. So it could be in this way. This goes under the arm, and then over the shoulder, all the time. Make sure you support the arm, talk to the patient, and find out what position is most comfortable for them. Slow, you see? He is explaining how to make a sling, so it's slow. Probably it's also using some kind of movement with the hands to explain each part. In fast speech, in which we have a conversation, we can do things faster and we can make all those connected speech changes that we have already discussed. So you would have this conversation in this way. Is anyone having a start or not? Or are we going straight to the main course? Like that, okay? I'm going to go straight to the main course. I'm going to go straight to the main course. Yeah. But I might have done a extra portion of something. You never know. Do they do nice sweets here? I think it's just light cheese. What's light cheese? They are the funny little white ones. They're the funny little white ones. Like that. Aren't they? That's right. I'm not really keen on them. That would be in that way. So, if you focus on these two sets, those two clusters, or are we going straight to the main course, but I might have an extra portion of something, yes, those are run together. Or are we going straight to the main course, or are we going straight to the main course? Probably these three syllables are not going to be noticed, but I might have an extra portion of something. Bra, 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 you see? Bra, bra, bramas, bra, bra. Maybe it's a schwa, it's not even a diphthong, okay? So, in fast speech, again, we have to focus on what is the time that we take to produce the stressed syllables and the unstressed one, or the weak ones. So in words like straight and main, those are the most important ones. So whatever it is in the middle or before or after, it's made faster. So I'm going to go straight, that it's clear, because it's not any other course, but it's the straight not in any other directions. It's going straight to the main course, not this course, not another course, the main one. So I'm going to go straight to the main. This I'm going to go said fast, and this should take the same amount of time that saying straight and main. Okay, I'm going to go straight to the main course. Straight and main should be clear. I think it's just light cheese here, only cheese. I think it's just light cheese. They're the funny little white ones. Fun and white. Okay? So that's the question between fast and slow speech. So for today, you have to do the activities here. You're going to do only this one to identify it. We're going to correct them now in our WhatsApp group. So the idea is that you can focus on the different situations in which you can use the slow or fast speech. These ones are with the audio. These ones are for repeating. We're going to work with those later on. In the second unit, we'll start applying all the connected speech in the fast speech. So, in fast speech, sounds that are found in words spoken slowly may be missed out. So, you wouldn't say it occurred to me that Terry hadn't been in touch for ages, so I thought I phone. You say it with different type of connected speech devices. It occurred to me. This one is missed out. You know how do we call to this device? Think about it. Terry hadn't been in touch for ages, so I thought I ought only wanted ought to phone him. Phone him. This one is missed out. Well, just then, note here. Well, just then there was a ring from the bell. Here, T is missed out because of the influence of T, and there he was. Okay, so the idea is that we provide for fluency different type of devices of connected speech. Here you have other ones, as well as sounds, syllables, or whole words that we would expect to hear in a slow speech may be reduced, and these are the keys. Reduced or missed out in fast speech. Listen and notice how the highlighted parts are reduced or missed out in this conversation. So, come on, it's time. Come on, it's time to go. Come on, it's time to go. What you looking at? Sorry, what you looking for? What you looking for? Don't suppose you see my glasses. Don't suppose you see my glasses. Have you lost them again? Have you lost them again? You better carry on. Can't go with my glasses. You better carry on. Can't go with my glasses. You see how all these devices occurred? You know different names for these devices, but in fact, the common thing to say is that some are reduced or missed out. Yes? So, changes also occurred not only for in the sake of reducing or omitting, but also under the different influences from different sounds. So, I want you to paint, want you to paint my kitchen, paint my kitchen. The t is missed. The is missed out, and the t is said like a p. Paint my kitchen, paint my kitchen. I want you to paint my kitchen. What color? What color? Glottal at the back. Light green, right. Glottal. It is to the back. So those are because of the fluency that we are getting throughout our speech. Okay? Here it says, it is not essential to make these changes in your own speech in order to be understood, although they can help your speech sound more natural and fluent. So all these things are to be done to be fluent, and that's the idea. Okay? So here you have other activities that you can do also. These ones you can also do without the listening. Then we will check the answers. And this one, no, this one you need the audio. I will post it now. But well, the idea is that you start rehearsing with these devices. So rehearse with all of these devices, repeat them, use this activity to repeat, try to focus on the amount of time that it takes to provide the weak, to get from one strong to the other one, if it is the same amount of times in which you produce the weak ones. Read this aloud. Focus on the main difference between the slow and fast speech. They have mostly the same characteristics because they have these prominent words, they have a rhythm, they have intonation, but they are different because one has a purpose, which is explaining, and the other one is for conversation and for familiar topics. Okay? So again, try to make these activities, and we will discuss it in the WhatsApp group this afternoon. But the idea is that you repeat all of this meanwhile you are listening to the audio. Okay?